All right, good evening, and thank you everyone for being here. Tonight at our meeting, we would like to open with an invocation, and this evening we have Manny Velasquez from House of Glory. Thank you for coming, Manny.
Hello. Thank you so much for the invite to be here tonight. I just want to start off with a prayer. If you would like to bow your heads, close your eyes, and just join me in. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with humble and honest hearts. We lift up this city. We lift up its leaders to you, Jesus. You see all the challenges that we face, all the pressure, all the division, all the uncertainty, and yet we choose to trust you, that you are still in control, that you are still at work, and that you're still able to bring peace and purpose out of everything that's going on in our lives. I pray especially for the members of this council. I pray you grant them wisdom and strategies beyond their understanding, that you would fill their hearts with compassion for every person they serve, and courage to make decisions that honor you, Jesus, and protect this city. I ask, Lord, that you bridge all the gaps between all the backgrounds, the professions, and everybody's perspective. Remind us that we are one community, united under your grace, and called to love and serve one another. Bless the work of this council, Lord. Let their efforts lead to healing, renewal, and hope. Let your justice and mercy flow through every conversation and every policy. I declare that a vision for the next steps will come upon all those who work in this city to bring change, the change that we need. Father, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I declare that every spirit of distraction and confusion be broken right now in the mighty name of Jesus. We place our trust in you, Lord. Strengthen us to move forward together, united as one voice, as Americans, and as your children. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. And now will you join me, will you stand for and join me in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will now have our roll call. Councillor Crone?
Here.
Councillor Nicholas?
Here.
Councillor Benham?
Here.
And Councillor Riker?
Here.
Councillor King?
Here.
Councillor Schlegel?
Here.
And Councillor Marshall, I'm here. And so we do have a quorum. And I would like to move on to our first item on the agenda, and that is a public hearing on the resolution supplementing the 2025 budget and making appropriations. And we have a presentation from staff.
Sorry. They have their slides in front of them? Yeah. Are you okay doing that? Yeah, they're printed on there. Is that okay to do it that way, or? Good evening, councilors and the public. Sorry you guys can't see this. Maybe sometimes that one works up there in the back when this screen doesn't, but we'll try and do this the best we can. Today I'm going to go over the supplemental budget for fiscal year end June 30th, 2025. I'm on slide 2 now. I have a various number of funds to go through with the relationship to council goals of fiscal stability. I'm not going to read all of them because I'm going to go through them one by one. So now I'm on slide 3. A supplemental budget can be used when something occurs that was not known during the regular budget process. Can be adopted at a regular meeting if the change in a fund is less than 10%. Anything over 10% requires a public notice in the Courier, so we did that on May 28th. And then the resolution must state the need, purpose, and amount, which we did all of those. On the next slide, the only fund that is a requirement of a public hearing is the Environmental Waste Fees Fund, which is an increase of appropriations over 10%. And when I get there, this is just a pass-through. This is money that comes in and goes straight to the Solid Waste Agency. The next slide is going to be the general fund. So in the general fund, we're adding additional appropriations for resting sites for program needs, previous approval of council support of the Christmas parade, the council approval of coverage of additional tree lighting expenses, so the transfer of appropriations from contingency to resting sites, general program operations, and interfund transfers. So the need is for the transfer of appropriations from contingency to these three programs. And the next slide will be the numeric adjustments. Once again, sorry you can't see this. But at the top, you'll see the $50,000 for resting sites, the $3,000 in general program operations for the Christmas parade, security, and then the $1,400 for the Christmas tree lighting. The next fund is going to be the transportation fund. So we have increased street lighting from inflationary rate increases and then utility billing write-offs in the general program operations. So we need to increase street lighting and general program operations from contingency. So I'm going to touch a little bit on utility billing write-offs because it shows up in multiple places. We implemented our new software system starting in 2014. The customer service utility billing side came online in 2016. We have not necessarily done a true financial true-up between the customer service side of the ledger and the financial side of the ledger. So this is truing those two amounts up over potentially the last 10 years. And from this point forward, we plan on doing that on an annual basis. But you'll see that there's various amounts through here. It can happen in a myriad of ways. Screen freezes and the transaction just doesn't go through or goes through and it doesn't happen on one of the sides of the ledger. It's pretty common in my line of work. It is, when you add them all up, it is a pretty big dollar amount of $50,000 plus. I think it's about 53. Well, you have to look at it, that's also over the last 10 years. So you're looking at $5,000 a year. And if you're looking at $5,000 a year, we approximately billed $29 million this year. As well as if you look at there's 14,000 accounts, 12 months a year that we bill, 6 different utilities, you're looking at about 1 million different transactional operations. Our error rate is less than 99.98%. So again, yes, it is not necessarily something we'd like to see, but computer programs aren't necessarily perfect. The next slide is going to be stormwater. Again, utility billing write-offs from the contingency into general program operations for that $6,600. The next is going to be the water fund. There are additional utility costs for the water treatment plant. The power bills were a little bit higher for this year. And then the utility billing write-offs in the general program operations. So you see an increased water treatment and general program operations appropriations from that contingency line. The next slide, and I believe I'm on slide 10 if everybody's following along, is the water projects fund. So there's $1 there I need to move. This is a rounding error to complete the movement of a transfer. So in building the budget, there was 40 cents that got rounded down. I needed a full $1 to move that 40 cents. So that's what it is. And you'll see in another area, we have another rounding error. And I can assure you that we took a different approach to this year's capital to make sure that hopefully this doesn't happen in the future. Now I'm on the wastewater fund, slide 11. Again, this one's just utility billing write-offs. And you'll see that some of the funds with the larger amounts, they actually have the lion's share of the billing as well. Most of your water and wastewater funds, we bill about 9 million plus a year. So they are the larger of the utilities. Solid Waste Fund, the unanticipated landfill consultant costs that has an offsetting insurance reimbursement from revenues. I don't know if you remember either Wade or Jason getting up here. We used to have a long-term person taking care of the post-closure landfill. Now we have a new consultant that's a little bit more expensive. Luckily, we have an insurance policy, so we just get those revenues back, even though those are a little bit more expensive expenditures to do the testing and such for the landfill. Next, I'm on slide 13, administrative services. So we're looking to increase external legal consultation costs with the city attorney vacancy. We're going to transfer the appropriations from legal or from contingency to legal. Slide 14, I'm on the environmental waste fees fund. This is the one that requires a public hearing. This is from increased revenues from a contractual over-profit obligation from a solid waste company. So we're going to increase the materials and services appropriations from an increase in solid waste miscellaneous revenue, which is just a pass-through back to the solid waste agency. And now I'm on slide 15, the Lands and Buildings Projects Fund. So we did close LB 6380 GIS Master Plan. It did have a little bit more than we thought by the end of the year. So we're just giving the appropriations to transfer those monies back to the funds in which the Public Works Administrative Fund that houses GIS, where we're moving those to operational funds. And then there's a correction of another rounding error for a special payment back to the URA. And then obviously we're going to decrease the lands and buildings, capital construction appropriations to increase the transfer and special payment amount. And again, that dollar is for a rounding difference that we didn't necessarily anticipate for, I think, 2 transactions that make up 86 cents. Next, I'm on slide 16, the summary. So in your packet, there was Exhibit A. We have a current resolution of 24-7484 that was also a supplemental budget for the adoption of the budget in September of 2024. And in the packet, you can see there's a plethora of all of the appropriation levels and the adjustments to each of those. The cost implication, each has an appropriation impact, obviously. The general fund and administrative services funds have a potential future fund balance impact. We definitely take some of that into consideration when we're building the fiscal year 26 budget, but depending on the size and the scope as we move through it, it's June right now, and so again, the timing of which the preparation of the fiscal year 26 budget, we hopefully have captured that, but sometimes we don't. And again, the rest of them we don't think will have or we only think that it'll have a minimal fund balance impact. And your call to action is tonight. So your alternatives are to adopt the supplemental budget as recommended or not to adopt the supplemental budget. And then thank God I printed this out, and there is a potential motion at the bottom there. And with that, I'll take any questions.
All right, Rick, and then Kathleen.
Thank you, JC. Page 7 with the supplemental budget for the transportation fund. And I have a question on some of the different ones too. I get real confused on the interfund transfers, and I realize this case is $2,925,000 is coming in, but where?
No, that's going to be out, but for this purposes, your interfund transfers are going to be to capital.
Okay, so this is,
and so there's
the way it's listed, it's going out.
Correct, to
and
capital.
So it's in the fund, it's going out, and it's going to specific projects?
That is correct. We don't normally make transfers unless there's a specific reason. And you can see that there's a 0 in that adjustment line. I'm just showing you the totality of the fund and all of its appropriation, but we're not making an adjustment with the supplemental budget.
So it's not easy. We could take
big thick books that we got and so forth and go through there. So we don't know, it could be going to one project or it could be going 10 different projects when we look at that amount.
That is correct.
So we don't, of course, down here, it doesn't list what projects it's going to.
I guess I'm wondering why you're interested in the projects they're going to in the event that we're not asking for an adjustment to previously adopted budgetary transfers to those projects, if that makes any sense from my perspective.
I'm just trying to understand the process. Again, finances like spreadsheets like this is not my favorite.
No, you're fine. In next council meeting, we will adopt the 26 budget. And so through adopting of that budget and going through the budget committee and approving that through the budget committee, we went through all the projects and the allocations. If you would like, I can pull what that $2.9 million makes out of that, and it is on the city website.
Okay, thank you.
So I was curious to know, JC, is this something that typically happens every year? A supplemental budget?
Yeah, that's a good question. So typically, Oregon budget law allows for you to do this, and we prepare a budget 18 months out before it officially ends. So information is constantly changing daily, and so we do our best to make our best estimation of where we're going to end up, and sometimes we just miss for various reasons. Most of them are unforeseen, because if everything stays kind of as we see it, then we kind of are pretty close, but sometimes we just never know. Like the resting sites, I believe we brought to council a higher estimation, and then they took away some of those monies, and then we realized we needed to do more with those resting sites, and so we came back to ask for more funds to be able to make those expenditures, like the decomposed granite.
Eric?
Thank you for the presentation, even though the projector didn't work for us, unfortunately. Had a question in terms of, you mentioned that we do this every year. The question I have is, how are we sitting? Is it pretty high as far as the adjustments go, or is it pretty low? How's that trending? Is it, and what can we learn from prior years, if anything at all?
It's a good question. Every year changes. Every year is a little bit different. I could say we probably had more adjustments to make in the years that we had 8% inflation. But that doesn't preclude something to happen either with legislation or something else that comes down that we would need to make an adjustment. So it's not necessarily a dollar value that we go off of. It's mainly looking back and figuring out what happened, and could we have been more proactive in coming up with that estimation, or was that really out of our control and out of our potential scope of reach of knowing that information?
Okay, and then how did this year go, this particular information? I mean, was it pretty difficult? Was it challenging? Did we learn anything from the prior years?
I would call this normal. You never know what you don't know until you get there. So like the environmental waste fees, that's based on a contract with profit sharing. It happened to be that Public Services, I believe, made more money than their contract allowed them to make, and so they issued us a check. And so again, we don't expect them to issue us an extra check every year, and so it just happened to happen, and we need to pass those revenues on to the solid waste agency.
Thank you so much.
All right, Joel?
Thanks for a good presentation. In several of these, you have utility bill write-offs in general program operations. I've been working all day, and my mind is kind of frazzled. And I just wondered, what is a utility bill? Give me an example of a utility bill write-off in a general program operation.
Yeah, so it's not like we are writing off customer accounts. That is another type of write-off that people use synonymously. This is a write-off financially to where we are marrying two different ledgers. So our financial ledger, like I was saying before, We implemented or started implementing the new software in 2014. The utility billing software was implemented in 2016, and so there is a variance between the two systems in changeover and implementation. And so we are matching and marrying now the financial system to the customer accounts and the ARs, and they are two different ledgers. It can happen through various of ways, transactions. A screen can easily freeze and it makes it into one area like the customer account, but it doesn't make it financially into the back end on the area. They're kind of considered two different modules that are kind of stuck together. So again, it's a computer software glitch, so to speak. I know that's not a great answer, but it's 10 years in the making. If you look at the amounts, $5,000 a year.
Very small.
It's very small in the grand scheme of billing $29 million. Again, this isn't just writing off customers. These are like system glitches. From this point forward, knowing that we have potentially a zero balance, we can potentially hone in on if there is a potential system issue that we can identify and fix.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have other questions from council? I'd like to now ask if there is anyone from the public who would like to speak on this, in this public hearing on this topic for the supplemental budget. And I don't see anyone who would like to speak from the public on this particular public hearing, so I will bring it back to council for discussion. Seth?
Can I make a motion? I move to approve the resolution to adopt the supplemental budget for fiscal year 2025.
We have a motion, and I saw a second from Eric and a second from from Rick. And any questions or comments from, any additional comments from council? All right, then we will move for a roll call, and we'll start with Eric. How do you vote?
Yeah. Yes.
And Joe?
Yes.
And Rick?
Yes.
And Rob?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, and so it's a unanimous, and it passes. Thank you. Oh, and next on our council agenda, we have a resolution establishing a non-bargaining compensation classification task force, and we have a presentation from our city manager. Okay, Aaron.
Good evening, council. I have a brief presentation that just outlines council's direction with regards to creating a task force. It's in your packet on page, I think, 13 through 16. But on the 21st of May, council directed staff to establish a compensation classification task force to include 2 city councilors, 2 budget committee members, 2 members at large with experience in large payrolls, and with McGrath Consulting facilitating the process. The purpose of the task force is to review and evaluate the non-bargaining compensation and classification restructure, and the task force shall review the proposed salary study and recommended structure in detail, identify potential modifications or alterations if appropriate, and develop and present formal recommendations to the City Council for consideration. The resolution is in front of you establishing that. Once the resolution is established, then we will go out and we will request those parties that are interested from the Budget Committee and those parties that are interested from the public, so then you can appoint the task force at a future business meeting. Costs associated with this is $250 per hour from McGrath Consulting, but there may be additional costs associated with a potential labor attorney to assist in the process. Your alternatives are to approve the resolution with amendments, or not approving the resolution. I turn it over to you, Council President.
Thank you. And, okay, I saw Kathleen and then Seth.
Aaron, can we estimate how many hours it will take to review and evaluate the need?
You know, we're hoping that this will be quick. I know council would like to have a quick turnaround, so we're hoping it wouldn't be more than a handful of meetings, maybe 4 meetings max, and each meeting being, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. We don't really know. It all depends on the engagement of the task force, the need for background information to get people up to speed within the discussion. So it's really hard to say. I don't have a full dollar amount.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then I was wondering, will the 250 an hour for the consultant be a hardship on the city?
We have monies budgeted for to afford the task force as council desires. Yep.
Okay, so I guess this is maybe to council, but obviously you got McGrath Consulting, who's been currently consulting with city staff, and obviously did the presentation at the last council meeting. And I know I've talked to a few people about this, but you know, they're obviously working directly with city staff. So does it make sense to move forward with them and only them? You know, I mean, this is a non-bargaining unit, but technically council is bargaining with the non-bargaining unit currently. So I'm just hypothetically thinking that, you know, a consulting group that's working with the staff is going to take sides with the staff. Maybe that's not true. I'd hope that wouldn't be true, but at $250 an hour, I don't know, moving forward, you know, I guess I'm posing a question to council of, you know, do we move forward with McGrath as the consultant that we work with, or do we bring in someone else to maybe review and come out with a fresh angle?
I saw Joel and then Rick.
Well, I have a different topic, so we probably should deal with that topic first.
All right, Rick, is that on Seth's topic?
So my perception on McGrath is that they have the initial information. How much information they have, I would like to say they would have 90% of it, and whatever we have left, by whatever means are necessary, we can gather the rest of it. And that McGrath will not be dictating to the committee what direction they should go, but,
So we're deliberating now. Do we have any more questions for Aaron?
okay, so, thank you.
All right, I saw Seth's hand. Did you want to speak quickly on that or go to Rob? Oh, okay, Rob.
Joel, did you have a question? Okay, why don't you ask your question?
Joel and then Rob.
No, I didn't. I have deliberation.
Okay. So I have a question for Aaron. If I remember correctly, Dr. McGrath seemed to indicate that while she did come up with, we'll say, the structure or the outline of the possible new pay scale, and she indicated that actually it was Mandy that had plugged a lot of the numbers in and did a lot of the arithmetic. And I'm just wondering if we're going to have any, and it really seemed that there was definitely a divide between part of what McGrath did and part of what the city staff did. So how are we going to make that, are we going to have city staff at these meetings as well? Because McGrath didn't really want to own that whole presentation. Matter of fact, she distanced herself from some of it. So how are we going to bridge that gap?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the gap that you're speaking of. McGrath did the majority of the work when it came to this study and the package that they're providing. So at this time, we would have a staff member from the administration office staffing the meeting just from a standpoint of minutes and organization, but staff will not be present at those meetings unless specifically requested.
I'd have to go back and watch it, but while McGrath did come up with essentially the structure as far as how it was filled in, I don't believe she took full ownership of that at the last meeting. She didn't. She refused to. So to me, not to say that council necessarily has to pay attention to city staff on this. We could deal directly with McGrath, but she definitely distanced herself from the final product that was presented to council for approval.
Well, maybe that's something that the task force can explore further. Council could also, if they so desire, hire do an RFP for another salary compensation consultant to come in and review that work to provide with a third-party, non-biased report on McGrath's findings.
All right, Seth.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how many meetings this task force is going to be, or how long, what the time length is going to be. But maybe it's a situation where you have McGrath there for the meeting, the first, let's say it's 4 meetings, they're there for the first 2. We gain the information we need, you know, because I'd still like to pick their brain. I think it makes sense. And then beyond that, we leave it to the task force to go through that data and that information. Just, you know, in terms of cost savings and things like that, just a thought.
Were you looking to make a motion then, Seth, to the, or I didn't mean motion, I meant amendment. But we'll have Indra. Okay, you want to do, okay, Indra.
Kind of along those lines, I'm wondering if it might be beneficial to have the task force meet and go over the data and then decide whether they want McGrath or another consultant or no consultant, but they could make that call and have consultants after that first meeting. Just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I'd make an amendment for that,
Yes.
to leave it up to the task force. Oh, okay, well.
Oh, well, okay, deliberating. Do we have other questions, comments from staff?
I have a comment from staff.
Oh, yes.
I think however council wants to set it up, of course, it's your prerogative, but in the end, if, I believe whatever product comes out of the task force, if it's a product that has been worked on and developed from the task force, it should be reviewed by McGrath, and McGrath should be able to provide you with a full report on the recommendations of the task force.
Rick?
So what I'm hearing, the task force has the ability to have McGrath on board, and also Mandy from HR could be providing information to the committee as well?
Mandy will not be available for the next 5 weeks at least.
Then is there somebody in HR that has the information if we need it?
Some of the information, we can provide you with what information we have, of course, through any requests. I can get you the information that we have on file.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments from council? Joel? All right, now I would like to ask if there is anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this subject. All right, come on up and remember to state your name and where you're from.
My name is Mike Pelfrey. I'm from Grants Pass. No, I'm from Fort Benning, Georgia, but I live in Grants Pass. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I do not feel that we need to bring this consultant back in. That's just personal opinion. For the simple reason that we have some very intelligent people in this room, in this city, that have the ability to go back and watch the video, that very long watching paint dry video of the presentation that the McGrath people put on. So I believe we have plenty of information to be able to lead our city in the right direction in regards to this particular subject. And so with that said, I think that perhaps the task force should be just that, a task force. And you can, whoever you choose on this task force has ample opportunity to go back and look at the public meeting and gather all of the information, take all of the notes that they need, and then you guys can sit down and have an intelligent conversation and come to a conclusion that is in the best interest of the city and its residents. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. And do we have other comments from the audience? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. And I saw Seth and then Joel.
Well, one of the things that I thought was what I'm personally looking for, and it's simple, that some criteria for the committee, if it's not formally given to them, then I will apply it informally when I get the results back. But that, you know, I'm used to a wage negotiation that has a cost of living increase and the step increase. And the cost of living increase is generally tied to the Consumer Price Index, CPI, And it generally takes, you know, Social Security does it that way, federal employees do it that way. Employers, for the most part, do it that way. And so we got this huge system that's, not a huge system, but it's kind of convoluted, and there's been a lot of misinformation as a result of that on what the actual increases are, when they occur. I just want to simplify it and say, hey, this is our criteria of what we want to do. We want to give that cost of living increase, and then if they're due an existing step, they get the existing step. And that, I mean, it's that simple. I don't have to go through a big system to do that. But if, you know, if people insist, then that would be my standard. I would look at what the results would be versus giving them a CPI increase, and if they were to do a step, they get a step.
All right, thank you, Joel. Seth?
Thanks, Mike. I do think we're intelligent, and so I would like to amend it in the sense that I think at least the first meeting we have with the task force is with McGrath, just to download all the information. I know, you know, we can go back, but I would like to get access to the documentation so we can at least ask questions and, you know, get any answers we want. And then from there, the task force can decide how they'd like to proceed.
All right, Rob?
Yeah, to some degree, or maybe completely, I support that idea. I know that council, you know, had a couple of months of back and forth, the ability to ask questions of our HR director, et cetera. The people that we choose on the task force may or may not be familiar with the data at all at this point. They may be starting at point zero, and they may have questions that council didn't think to ask either. I'm hoping that they do, actually. And we're talking about well, as proposed, it was a $1.2 million annual expense. To me, I'm not that worried about paying $250 an hour for the first meeting or two to make sure that all members of the task force have had a chance to ask Dr. McGrath anything that they feel is important. Because quite frankly, I'm really hoping that some members of the task force have questions that go beyond what council has asked so far. So while I wish it wasn't that much money, I think the first meeting or two, and I think that we can decide as the task force after that if we feel that we need to have Dr. McGrath continue to come to every meeting.
So it looks like possibly there is an amendment to have McGrath at the first and the second. That might have been possibly a friendly amendment to Seth's amendment to the motion. Would you like to extend the first to the second?
Actually, to clarify, I don't want to decide now how many meetings we need Dr. McGrath at, because we don't know who's on the task force, we don't know what's going to come up, we don't know what questions are going to come up specifically, and we don't, you know, we're talking about unknown. So I don't want to limit ourselves right now to that. I would say that we would have, and again, I'm just, maybe I'm commenting on his motion, but I would say that we have Dr. McGrath at least the first meeting, and we, as a task force, decide after that how much more information we feel we need from her. But I don't want to limit it to two, because again, we're talking about something that was proposed as $1.2 million. Even if council ended up moving on half that, it's still $600,000 is a lot more than $250 an hour. So I'm not that concerned with spending $250 an hour if we can come up with a really good product.
So, based on the motion at hand, I think this discussion is moot at this point. You can do so however you like once it's established it has McGrath there as a potential thing. If council wants to have it for 1, 5 meetings, 2 meetings, I don't know if that's necessary to discuss tonight at the dais, but you'll have the direction of McGrath present if you need it.
All right, I saw Seth and then Indra.
Well, I guess can we leave it to the task force discretion moving forward?
Council can do what they'd like.
I'm just, you know, instead of coming back to council every time and asking, you know, can we just leave it? Okay, so that, I guess that would be my amendment.
All right, I'm entertaining motions from, Indra, did you, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution have to read this, sorry. Creating a non-bargaining compensation and classification task force with the amendment that the task force has McGrath for the first meeting and then decides thereafter whether to have them or not.
And I have a second from Rick. Any other discussion from council? All right, we'll start with Councilor Crone.
Yes.
Indra?
Yes?
Seth?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So it passes unanimously. Oh, and Seth?
I don't know if this is the right time, but can we move to appoint counselors to this right now?
Are you making that motion?
I am. I mean, just, I figure might as well.
All right, and do I have a second? And I have a second from Rick. Any discussion from council? Rick?
I'd be happy to be on the committee. I've already put together a spreadsheet for 20 of the positions, focusing basically on the ones that are showing a higher potential for increases. Because I've been on paved committees before, I feel I would want to have input from everybody that's on the committee, make sure that everybody's being heard and that we have adequate information, and then to go forward in making a decision. Thank you.
And I would agree with that. And Seth?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appoint Rick to the task force.
Do we have a second? I see a second from Indra. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call. Eric?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. And I would like to make a motion to appoint Seth to the task force. And I have a second from Rick. Any discussion? All right, and we'll start with Kathleen.
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Seth? Rob?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. And so does staff have direction on the motion and the task force from
Yes.
council?
Yeah, next steps is we'll reach out to the budget committee. We'll see what members are interested in doing that. We'll bring the slate of individuals to you, similar to what you're going to be doing on the next item on your agenda. You'll be appointing whoever you so desire out of the budget committee members. And then we'll also advertise for the 2 open positions with individuals that have experience with larger payrolls.
So I'm not sure why it wouldn't just be advertised. Why would staff reach out to the budget committee?
Well, it was requested that 2 budget committee members also serve on the.
I understand. I just don't understand why staff would then reach out. Why wouldn't it just be advertised that way, that we're looking for 2 budget committee members?
Well, we would send an email to the budget committee members. It'd make
Okay.
sure that we contact all of them and see who's
Okay.
interested.
Thank you.
All right, and next up on our agenda, we have an appointment for 2 members to the Public Art Committee. You have a pink sheet before you. I think how we have done this before is there are 2 openings, so if you would like to circle 2 of the 2 of your choices and pass them this way. All right, well, we have a four-way tie. So I am entertaining motions for people to appoint, to make motions to appoint particular people to the Public Art Committee. Seth?
Yeah, I make a motion to appoint Eva Shaw to the Public Arts Committee.
Do I have a second? I have a second from Rick, and we'll take a roll call vote. And Eric?
Do we have discussion?
Oh, any discussion? Sorry about that. Indra?
Yes, I guess I'm just going to discuss the four together, but when looking at those, one was very new, a year in the city, and one was 3, and Eva was one of those. I'm not sure 1 or 3, but I just feel like I wanted to go with somebody or 2 that were more vested in the community, that have been around our community. One is a lot longer, 37 years, and one was 10, and so that's kind of what I based mine on, and not just, they all looked good, and I appreciate them all applying, and I get that we mostly choose who the committee themselves put forth. I think my other concern sometimes is not knowing the individuals or getting a chance to meet with the committee or talk with them. Maybe the liaison to that committee would speak up today, but I worry about committees getting a little cliquish and not, accepting people that aren't necessarily friends or from the outside. And so that's another thing I look at too. And so that was a concern, possibly.
Kathleen?
Yeah, I'm having the same similar considerations for that. Somebody that's lived here longer, that has participated in some of the art gallery and with the art community, and have longer life experience here in our city, and knows what our city is about, and how to just bring in the common person, not just people that have high-level resumes of artistry.
All right, do we have other comments from staff? I mean, not staff, council, sorry. Staff, if you'd like to make a comment. All right, we'll take a roll call vote, and we'll start with Eric.
We have some pretty competitive people here. I'm going to vote no.
Joel?
I'll vote yes.
Rick?
Yes?
Rob?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Indra?
No.
Kathleen?
No.
And I will go with the arguments that I heard on the dais, and I will also vote no. And so that is a tie. And so...
So I'd recommend from a parliamentary procedure standpoint, with the tie, it does not pass. So go ahead and move on to the other candidates one by one and see which candidates, and if you have others that pass.
All right, I am entertaining motions for appointees. Indra?
Yes, I make a motion for Cynthia Hernandez.
Do I have a second? Kathleen? Comments from council or discussion? Indra?
I just want to point out that this individual has lots of experience and has been in our community a long, long time, and a variety of experience. She was also a registered nurse that teaches art classes, so I just think it brings a whole new perspective into the committee that I think would be nice.
All right, other comments or discussion items? All right, we'll take a roll call, and we'll start with Kathleen, and we'll just go ahead and go down the line.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. All right, well, there we have the unanimous appointee, Cynthia Hernandez, to the Public Art Committee, and I am entertaining another motion. Seth?
Can we motion for the person that we ended up on a tie, or does that have to?
Well, we
How does that
could,
work?
but if there are any other,
You should move forward with the other two and see if one of the other two
Okay.
would
Yeah, no, I'm just-
nominate
okay,
Harry.
Kathleen?
I make a motion to nominate Pamela Purcell to this committee.
Do I have a second? Eric, in discussion from council? Seth?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I looked over all these. Cindy was great. I guess I want to try to put as much trust as I can in the committees, so, I don't know. I'd like to see a committee recommendation at least. So anyways, that's just my thoughts.
Kathleen?
Well, I see that this individual has been involved in the community on a lot of different levels, as well as the art community, and I think she would be a good citizen from the community to nominate.
Other comments from council? Rick?
I'm impressed by some of the other candidates and their background that they have too, so it makes it very difficult to sometimes make a decision. Thank you.
Yes, they were all very, very good candidates for this. Other discussion items or comments, discussion? All right, we will take a roll call vote for appointing Pamela Purcell, and we'll start with Eric. And we'll just move on down the line, so I don't.
Yes.
I'd go with the committee recommendation, so I'm going to vote no.
The same, no?
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
And I will also vote yes, and so that gives us a tie. And so I am looking for nominations from council and for Emily Bertman. Rick, and do I have a second?
Okay, I was going to say,
Oh, okay.
I'd like to nominate Emily Bertman because of the background she has and also her experiences that she would bring forward. I'm impressed with her resume that she has in here. Thank you.
And do I have a second? I have a second. And any discussion from council? Indra?
I guess I would like to say I was part of the tie, and I think this might be a tie again, but since we got the individual that was a longtime resident, I would be willing to change my vote to one of the other ones, but not the one that's this one that's been in a year, maybe the one that's been here 3 years instead. So if we voted, I'd be willing to entertain Eva again.
All right, other discussion from council? Well, we did have a second. So Seth, other discussion?
I would be open to reconsidering Eva Shaw. She's involved in the Hive Art Hub, which is also an established art gallery. Just a thought.
Okay, but we do have a motion, I believe. Did we have a second? We did have a second, so we'll take a roll call vote on Emily Bertman. And just go on down the line, starting with Kathleen.
No.
Sorry, who are we on?
Oh, we are voting for Emily right now on the appointment of
No.
Emily Bertman.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
No.
And no, and so that was what,
That's 4 to 3 no, so now you
okay.
would go back to potentially your next one that you started with, which would be
Ava Shaw.
a motion
All
for
right.
Ava Shaw.
do I have a new motion to appoint Ava Shaw? Set?
Yeah, I'll
And do I have a
appoint Eva
second?
Shaw to the Public Art Committee.
And Rick with a second. Any discussion from council? Joel? Oh, okay, thank you. We'll take a roll call vote, and we'll just start with Eric, and you can just go down the line.
Ava Shaw.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 No.
And I will vote yes, and that is, so we do have 2 new members for the Committee on Public Art, Cindy Hernandez and Ava Shaw. So if you are watching, congratulations. And we will move on to public comment. And, all right. Oh. All right, now we will move on to public comment, and this is an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on items not related to a public hearing or council action items for the council. The intent is to provide information that is pertinent to the city's jurisdiction. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the council as one body. This meeting will proceed in an effective and courteous manner. Citizens and council members will be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free from slander, threats, or other personal attacks. Signs and placards, outbursts of applause, campaigning for public office, or other disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. If you have a question regarding any government-provided service or a current city policy, please contact the city manager's office in an attempt to resolve this matter. And so up tonight, we have Mike Pelfrey.
Excuse me. Okay, so my name is Mike Pelfrey, city resident. It wasn't that long ago, back in, I don't know, a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, that our previous mayor took the time to honor the whole month of June as Pride Month. And so I would like to just honor those that are LGB. Anything after that is mental illness. And I would like to just also say to them that I hope they have a wonderful day. No one deserves a month. So with that said, I'm going to task over into something different, but that has been on my mind because it seems like a lot of businesses, our government has gotten away from that craziness of what we dealt with under the last dysfunctional administration. So with that said, I would like to ask the council, we need some more clarification on the whole HB 3115. And what I mean by clarification is, it's interesting how other cities in our own state that are dealing with this bill are able to somehow manage, and some of them actually met this task, several years ago, where we are way behind the 8 ball, as we know. I'm so tired of hearing about, the injunction or the lawsuit, but yet other cities can mandate time, place, and manner in the sense that, so I'll use Ashland as a prime example. Ashland has a city camp, but the homeless can't show up until 7 p.m. and they must be out of there at 7 a.m. with all of their stuff. I don't understand why we can't do that, and so perhaps we can go back to the attorney that we're dealing with and the judge and ask them if there's any way that we can move forward with being using time, place, and manner and all the other word salads that they give us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And next up, we have Del Aldridge.
Del Aldridge, Grants Pass resident. Boy, what a week, huh? You guys have been really busy. That meeting bored the hell out of me. I don't know how you guys sit through all that, just to get a homeless shelter put together. It bored the death out of me, and you guys, have to give you kudos for it. We had a great week. We definitely had a nice boatnik, record-breaking, I heard, and a lot of kids out there, a lot of families. We were out there too. I know I saw a lot of you guys out there too. It was wonderful. We got something coming up this weekend. It's going to be the 50th year, and I just want to put it out there. Frog Affair. We're going to be out there as security guards for them, just kind of looking it over, and we're not going to act on anything. Don't worry about it, Chief. We're going to report it to the guys down there. Don't worry about that. We had a cleanup today, our first of 7 parks. I was impressed with a bunch of new people showing up, and they knew who they are, and I don't want to bring any more to it than that. But it's nice to have people out there that see that the parks are for kids. And what we collected today, that small amount of aluminum foil about that big, a crack pipe that was our 4th one, I didn't get the right count, but 4th one we found that wasn't broken. They're always broken, but this is our 4th one in all our cleanups. We found a full crack pipe sitting out there, a couple of needles, lots of caps. But that little bit of foil will kill a kid. So we've got 6 more parks to go. We're going to squeeze them in once we get everything done here. And then I invite every person here to come on out and join us. It's very rewarding. Thank you. I'm going to keep it short. You guys do a great job.
Thank you, Del. And next up, we have Kate Huckert.
Good evening. I'm Kate Huckert. I'm pretty sure you're getting used to seeing me. I live right across the street from the camp, which is a result of some terrible decisions you made starting in January. You made those decisions to close those camps, defund Mint, and throw people out of the parks, and you had nothing in place for them to go. So now you're surprised, and now you're blaming it on the state. And that's offensive to me because instead of handling this in a mature fashion, you have a stopgap measure that's supposed to be temporary, and you are not managing it. Unmanaged is unacceptable. You are putting it on us to manage in our neighborhood. We have an increase in crime, noise, chaos. It's a shit show. I'm exhausted. There is a stench coming towards my house now when it's hot outside. There are people in those camps who can be helped. I would love to see them helped. There are also people who are career criminals. You can check the vibe. You can feel it. Sit on my porch. There's at least 20 people who walk by my house in an hour. And some of them look very sketchy and they don't belong there. Other people, they need help. You need to move it or manage it. There needs to be a plan to manage this. This is unacceptable and it is your fault. You did this. You manage it. You can't leave it the way it is. You can't put it on us. We have to call the police 5 or 6 times a day sometimes. I'm sick of it. I'm not gonna make it for the year it's gonna take you people to get it together. Now, some of you are incredibly intelligent and I really appreciate you. And some of you, I'm not so sure. So I'd like to see you rise. I'd like to see you grow in your perspectives. Whatever you came into the committee with, I'd like you to see you change and evolve so that you do a proactive solution that helps the most people possible. Like some heart-centered, Christ-like consciousness is real and helps people. Not this cruelty that you came in with thinking you were saving the day and you screwed up a lot of things and you're ruining my neighborhood. We cannot take it. Move it or manage it.
Okay, thank you, Kate. And next up, we have Michael Servant.
I'm Mike Servant. I live with her across from this tragedy. I hope you all had a really nice Memorial Day. We tried to sit on our porch Memorial Day and had to call the police 6 times for a public disturbance or outbursts. So I hope you enjoyed your barbecue or whatever you guys got to do. But that's our new life. We live next to what should, in any other circumstances, be labeled and treated as a nuisance property. It's a chronic nuisance property by your own municipal codes. You only need to have 3 violations in 90 days to be declared a nuisance property. This gets half a dozen a day. So it should be a nuisance property. I've asked a number of you why it's not considered that and why the city is immune from their own municipal codes. Any other property owner would be served papers, and if they didn't remediate the problem, it could be shuttered for 9 months. But because the city owns this lot, no one's going to serve them papers, and you're immune from your own codes. So that's a very dangerous precedent in my mind. I've not gotten a satisfactory answer as to why that's not going to be enforced. I'm not sure how comfortable any of you are with the city ignoring their own laws and codes. I mean, that is something that is pretty scary slippery slope for me. So it either needs to be declared a nuisance property, and then those complaints need to be fixed, or it needs to be managed in a way that it's not a nuisance property. You can't have it both ways. You can't immunize yourself from your own codes and leave this shit show in front of our house. Okay? So it needs to be managed in some way. You have requirement in your grant proposal that is a managed site. Why isn't this one managed? Why was it put here unmanaged? We were told a couple months. Now we're looking at February, March minimum. It's going to be almost a year in our front yard unmanaged. It needs to be moved to a more secure location or managed in some way. You need to increase the city budget for this because it's going to require a lot more. And your calculations going forward on how much this grant should be based on 371 is not accurate because it needs to be managed. It's cost a whole lot more.
All right, thank you, Michael. And next up, we have Kat Hamilton.
Cat Hamilton County. I go to Morrison Park every so often with my son. He likes to play basketball. We've not been there since he said, "Gee, Mom, that's the strongest cigarette I've ever smelled." Well, the other night, somebody, a man, I will not say gentleman, apparently OD'd in the men's bathroom in Morrison Park. His pants are at his ankles. We've got pictures. I'm sure you've all seen them. There were apparently 4 softball teams, baseball teams on the field. Now, if one of those young men had gone into that bathroom and went and told Dad, I don't think the cops would have been involved. This man supposedly was a sex offender. Now, you can't card him at the parks because that's not fair to them. If this person had 911 called on him, was Narcaned or whatever he was done, because then he gets up, he's okay, he's got his pants back up where they're supposed to be, and he goes over to Baker Park. If that person was a sex offender, why can't he get busted for ODing in the bathroom? I don't get this. If you can't card him in the parks, he's doing drugs in the park, he OD'd, he's supposedly a sex offender. I can't confirm or deny, I don't know if Chief can, but I'm sure it's not the first time. I'm sure it's not the second time. I don't know where the line can get drawn to protect our kids. This is unacceptable. As a parent, I don't get this. I know it's chaos right now, I know you guys are trying, but this person was put in the hands of medical, law enforcement, whatever. I think he should have been checked, and something should have been done. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Patrick Rooney.
Patrick Rooney County. I just have a small thank you for you guys who's trying out here. I think you're all trying. And I think a lot of you are very decent people who want to do the right thing, very smart people too. I have a very small possibility here, but I think there might be something to it. I was driving by yesterday and I see these young men, able-bodied young men wandering around. They're perfectly able to do lots of things. Why can't they pick up after themselves? A pretty simple thing, right? There must be something in the law that you guys can do to make sure that people that are in these camps are cleaning up after themselves. And if they don't, I mean, you have certain rules, right? Basic rules. Every child knows that you're supposed to clean up after yourself. If you don't clean up after yourself, there should be some type of law that says, you guys can look into this, then you're out. Why are the Park Watch people, God bless these guys, and all the people that are helping out here, and you guys that want to do something, we hold ourselves to a high standard, but then we treat these other people like they're children. If we held them to some kind of standard, we can do something, and if they don't perform, they are out. There must be a law to deal with this. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Brooke Matthews.
Good evening, council members. My name is Brooke Matthews. I'm the program manager for the Balance of State Continuum of Care. We facilitate housing, domestic violence, and youth services for 26 rural counties in Oregon. Part of our job, I'm actually here with the entire program staff, and part of our job is to visit each county in the state and to meet with community partners, to take a pulse of the community, see what's going on, and report our findings back to OHCS and to the governor's office in order to advocate for activities that are happening in each region and county. I do have some positive news that may be helpful for some of the community members, and that is between 2024 and 2025, Josephine County did see a 43% decrease in unsheltered houselessness. We're actually seeing those numbers across the state because the state invested a large amount, that's unsheltered houselessness, across the entire county. The state invested funds through House Bill, through the EO funds, in order to add to an emergency shelter system throughout the state. And we are seeing great success with that, but we have only made very small strides in creating the very first step in handling the homeless crisis, which the first step in the continuum is street outreach and emergency shelter, because once we have people in emergency shelter, we can extend services to them. So here in Josephine County, you have a local planning group that if House Bill 3644 is passed, which it is in state legislature right now, you will see a statewide emergency shelter system that will allow funds to come into Josephine County to help assist with the housing crisis that is here. So I'm here to encourage that you collaborate with UCAN, which is the lead of your local planning group, and also to throw support behind the emergency shelter bill that's currently at state. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, and our last speaker is Donna Wall.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Donna Wall. I'm the Director of Dove Ministries. For a number of years, Dove Ministries has been actively engaged in supporting the homeless community here in Grants Pass, witnessing firsthand the challenges faced by the unhoused. I agree these camps are unacceptable. We all see the growing number of unmanaged campsites throughout the city. These unmanaged encampments present significant concerns for public health, safety, and the overall well-being of both the citizens and those experiencing homelessness. Tonight, I want to specifically highlight the immense vulnerability faced by homeless women in these unmanaged settings. They are exposed to violence, exploitation, and all kinds of evil, and have limited access to privacy and dignity that is essential for their well-being. Dove Ministry proposes the establishment of a managed women-only campground. This would be a safe, secure, and supportive environment designed specifically to address the unique needs of homeless women in Grants Pass. Such a site would offer enhanced safety, dedicated supervised space, would significantly reduce the risk of violence and exploitation of women. Access to resources would serve as a central point to connect women with essential services, including hygiene facilities, mental health, substance abuse, and pathways to stable housing and employment. Providing a structured environment would offer a measure of dignity and privacy currently lacking in unmanaged camps. We recognize that housing and shelter would be the preferred way to address the homeless issue. But in the meantime, we believe this initiative would not only improve lives of vulnerable women, but also contribute to more organized and humane approach of homelessness in the city, reducing the negative impacts of dispersed unmanaged campsites. Dove Ministries is prepared to collaborate with community partners on this critical issue. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone who came to speak tonight. And next up on our agenda is our consent agenda. And I do not see that we have any starred items, and I am looking for any discussion or a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Okay, I have a second. And we'll take a roll call. Kathleen?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, and so the consent agenda passes. And now we will move on to matters for mayor, council, and staff. So there are no matters for mayor tonight, and any matters from council. I saw Seth, and then Indra, then Kathleen.
Yeah, I just wanted to, speak on the current unhoused homeless situation, however you prefer to say it. I met with some people in this room earlier this week, and I really appreciate that. And being able to kind of discuss their viewpoints. I like the term Christ-like conscience, and that really resonated with me, and I think that's true across the board. That's the way I look at it, and all the decisions that we make, and that's how I, make my decisions. And so I think, all the chatter that's out there about what council's doing, there's a lot of it, right, from either side. We're trying to do what's best. Nobody's going to agree with it across the board. We have a forum Monday night, which I think will be good, next Monday night. So please attend that. Kind of get a little bit better idea of what we're trying to do. I meet with people all the time. I mean, this is basically all I talk about all day, every day, with anyone I meet. Doesn't matter if I go to my barber. it's the topic of the day. And so, there's people that want to, bus people out of town, which is, yeah, sure, that's I guess that's an option. I don't think it's a Christ-like option, in my opinion. And, on the flip side, there's also an extreme to it. So I come at it, from a realist perspective, and there's people that need help. And so I would like to say, as counselors, we're trying to do that the best that we can.
And Indra.
I'm going to address a few of the things I heard tonight, and then I have something else. But I agree. I mean, I commiserate. I'm in that neighborhood too. I'm not right across, but we are ignoring laws and codes and all over the place. I don't understand it either. But some we aren't ignoring, because I will just say that I got a few days ago a notice that the grass in my yard was too high. So some codes we are enforcing and others we aren't. I was angry about that, because you look out and see what's going on, and then you think, wow, this seems very minor compared to that. So I don't know how that happens. I agree, we should know absolutely who is living in these sites, and I don't, we need to find a way to be able to know who is in there. Plus, we have over 40 nonprofits dealing with the homeless, and I'm sure they're doing good work and all that they can, but I just don't understand how they're not taking those good people that are in there that want help, why they're still in there after all this time, and why they haven't already received help. I really don't understand that. For the woman who was with the state, or I don't know if you live here, but we have not seen a 40% decrease in homelessness. And if you lived here for the last 5 years, you would see our whole town destroyed by what the state is doing to us. I'm not blaming you, you're the messenger, but it's horrific. And hang around here, and I don't know if this is what you call an emergency site. It is not working. It's not working. It's bringing drugs and criminals into our town, and we're just waiting. Tragedies have already happened, but we're just waiting for an innocent person, honestly, to be killed. And then what? So it's unsafe for the people who are in there. Our small town does not have the resources or the money.
Counselor, I'd like us to try to
sorry.
take a look at actually what we're saying with regards to our
Yes.
resting sites and the situation that we have at hand.
I'm just addressing what she said to us, and I don't mean to be, I'm a little passionate about it, so I don't mean to be mean or divisive in that way, but it's so close to our hearts about what's going on here. So I'll move on. I do want to, lastly, I would like council to consider putting on the agenda for our next meeting. I would like to propose that we have a nomination for a vice president to the council. I think it would really improve the stability of what we're doing and the communication between counselors and city staff. I think it would be a good move to have a vice president, and I would like support in that.
Joel?
Yeah, so.
Was it on this issue? If not, we'll move to Kathleen and then to Joel, because Kathleen was first. But I just sensed that maybe you wanted to talk on that particular issue. If you don't, could we move to Kathleen and then back to Joel?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk on that particular issue.
Oh, okay.
So it is tough, and some people are being treated unfairly, both within that and outside of that. The progress that has been made with the plaintiff and the defendant was evident in the last 2 weeks. It didn't solve everything, obviously. We've been working on the grant that the lady that was appropriately concerned with women, not only inside the camp, but I hope she's also concerned with women outside the camp, because our chief has said there's been some issues within the community. There's opportunities to participate with other nonprofits and have that money be a facility that will be a managed campground that will make even more progress, hopefully, and treat people appropriately as Christ would have us treat them. And also, Christ had two things. One was love, and the other one was truth. And also tell the truth. So I would encourage people who are interested in helping, and America has a great tradition of that. You look at what PATH has done. You look at what some of the other nonprofits have done. You look at what people up here have done. And to do it in truth, not just love. Because if you just do it with love and not truth, it becomes unbalanced and hurts people. So we're on our journey. We've made some improvements. We're going to make more. And it's going to serve people even better and hopefully protect those that, all of us, and we're not there yet, including my house as well. So thank you for coming and expressing your opinion. I wish I could solve this tomorrow, but that's not going to happen, but it takes some time, and then we're making progress. And you can shake your head, and I understand that fully. I can share with you afterwards, and that would be great.
Thank you, Joel. Kathleen?
Yeah, I just want to express my concerns for our community and the people that are hurting here today, and those in our community that are being negatively affected by this. I did want to address an observation I have made, is that the 7th Street next to the police station is very empty. And it would seem to me that people that really wanted help would be close to the police station, because they would feel more protected or seen, or there'd be more observation. So that kind of puzzles me and begs the question, do people in these other sites not really want help that bad? I don't know, or don't feel as scared or intimidated, or why do they stay in those bigger camps? Anyway, that's just an observation I've been making. And maybe, Chief, you could address the issue with the nuisance regulations, just to clarify or speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely, Counselor. Thanks for the opportunity, because I hear everything that's said. And I'm going to start off by saying there's so much going on. There's an assumption that we're not doing our job. And I'm here to tell you that I would be remiss if I didn't share the amazing work the men and women of the police department do every single day, with every single nuisance to major felonies. We are overwhelmed, and we're so overwhelmed, we arrest people for something as simple as littering because of their footprint. So, sir, we do that all the time. And there are rules on the book that allow us to trespass that individual from the park, the resting site, whatever the case may be. It happens all the time. But there are so many people behaving poorly that you don't see that. So when I hear these comments that possibly the police department aren't doing enforcement, writing tickets, arresting people, that's not true. We arrest about 50 people per week. So just look at the Daily Courier, look at the stats that go out with the city managers weekly. Our folks are overwhelmed with what's going on here. And then we're asked to work robberies, homicides, aggravated assaults, and all the rest of it. I was recently looking in preparation for the June 30th workshop on levels of service. So I was just taking a look at what's going on in our community. So if you just consider Part 1 crimes being the most serious crimes, murder, rape, aggravated assault, burglary, arson, things like that, it's pretty high. It ranges between 2,700 to 3,000 per year. We only have allotted 57 cops in Grants Pass, and when you break it down to the amount of people that work between patrol, detectives, administration, running an organization with a $26.5 million budget, it's really busy. And I am so incredibly proud of the amount of work that they're doing. I am on our guys regularly, encouraging and being their cheerleader to get out there and work. And they're doing it. And I'm worried that they're going to go elsewhere because the amount of work here is overwhelming. Also, too, we are a complaint-driven organization. So if somebody calls in and says, the grass is too high, there's a car parked outside, I see folks in the crowd that do this all the time. We respond, we take care of it in accordance with the law. I am always available to answer questions. Counselor, I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak. We're doing all we can.
Eric.
Thank you, Chief. That was excellent. Really appreciate that. And thank you all for coming. I think the big picture here that we need to keep focus on is HB 3115. That's what's causing all of this to happen. The state never asked its citizens whether or not they could provide a definition for what objectively reasonable is. Okay? We should have been, the citizens that are going through all this should have been afforded that opportunity. HB 3115 is ruining this city. We're seeing it.
HB 3115 is forcing low-barrier shelters on us and resting sites. HB 3115 is causing crime rates to rise. We all know that. We're seeing it. We're seeing pregnancies. We're seeing all kinds of rapes and violence. It's crazy. But why is that happening? HB 3115. This is something that was established prior to the Supreme Court case that Grants Pass won, in anticipation of us winning that court case. HB 3115 is consuming a lot of our police force, their time. It's forcing businesses to leave. It's forcing people to leave. It's forcing people to be pissed off at the city. The Grants Pass taxpayers have had enough. And we see that. Because that's who's paying for all this. $400,000 minimum for these low barrier shelters that are forced on us by HB 3115. HB 3115 is anything but objectively reasonable, and I think we're all seeing that. It's not working for any city here in Oregon, and all the cities that are working, they're asking for more money. So, HB 3115, it needs to be addressed up at Salem, because until that gets addressed, we're forced to throw more money at it. Thank you all for coming. That's all I have.
Thank you, Eric. And I would also like to thank Chief and the amazing job that you do that goes unnoticed because of the huge issue that we have that was caused by the state of Oregon. And so I really appreciate Ms. Matthews, I do appreciate you coming down and giving us the information that you did. We have a crisis here. We do not have reduced homelessness. Our city is in dire need of the state fixing House Bill 3115. If you have not emailed the state, it's out on social media. You can find it easily, or you can just go to the state legislature and you can email your state legislators to ask them. We have a few more days and only a few more days. And apparently it looks like we have people waving information in to you. So there are people here who can help you with that. We can address the state to, before the session ends, to pull our representative, Dwayne Younker's bill, back up to the floor to be voted on again. It needs to be repealed and it needs to be replaced. It is hurting the citizens here, and it is hurting potentially every single city in the state. And so I do want to thank everyone who came here to speak. At our workshop, some of you said that you don't know how, it was a very long workshop. And we are working through very diligently, we are working through the solutions, and we want to make sure that our city is a safe place for everyone, and we are committed to continue to do that. So please do, though, help us by contacting the state. we really do need that assistance. Not us, I mean, our city really needs to, everyone, have your voice heard at the state legislature. And thank you once again, Chief, for all that you do for the city. I know that you are overtaxed with the situation that we are in. And, I have Joel, thank you.
I'll try to be short, because it's more important that we listen to you than you listen to us. But I just wanted to let you know, so these are really no barrier shelters. The grant we're putting together is a low barrier shelter where there's rules like no weapons. You can get evicted if you don't follow the rules, things like that. The behavior associated with camps that are supervised like that would be by the grant. The behavior is going to be different than what you see here. As we go into that, people, this is all they've known. And I understand what you're saying, sir, and I understand that, and we need to talk about that. But there is a difference. There is a difference. If you look at down at Rogue Retreat and you go visit them, or you go into a Marine boot camp, I mean, that's an extreme difference. Yeah. So anyway, I said I wasn't going to talk too long. The other thing was, everybody has a neighbor. And so I've taken that upon myself, that we sponsor one family, and we go to court with them. We bought a washer and dryer for them, which I don't want to tell you, but I just did, because they didn't have any. And they got jobs now, they're working. They got a home, and their kids still are, they haven't gotten their kids back. Everybody has a neighbor. Everybody has a neighbor. And you know how many people have neighbors in this town? A lot. And you only have to have action with one neighbor. And it can revolutionize the world. And it has in the past. So anyway, just something to think about.
Thank you, Joel. I saw Indra and then Kathleen.
I just want to bring up the nomination for vice president. Again, it seemed to be dropped, but if I could get support of two counselors to make sure that that's put on the agenda for next meeting.
I guess it would be appropriate to hear from other counselors if they're interested in establishing that position.
I thought you were the vice president already.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I'll be in support of it. However we can improve communication. That's what I want to do.
I wasn't even aware that a vice president on the council was even a thing, so I'm kind of caught off guard.
Well, it's something we had before, and it's probably worthy of discussion. We do have a diverse council, which has strengths, and it's an opportunity to exploit in a positive way that diversity. And it could also continue the way it is, but it's probably worthy of discussion.
Does council have direction on that?
Yeah, we'll schedule that for a future council meeting to discuss the creation, the creation of a vice president.
And Kathleen?
Well, I had one more thing I wanted to bring up for matters of mayor and council. We had discussed or we had gotten a memo on some properties up on Hillcrest Drive and Beacon Hill. And I would be in favor of continuing the Peter Allen land surveying and to get a full appraisal on that property and maybe a workshop on that and how that could, what would happen if that went forward.
All right, I would be in favor of that as well, and so is Rick. Okay, and so is Eric, and so does staff have direction there?
Sounds like the direction is, are you providing direction for us to go ahead and continue to move forward with an appraisal and just a future workshop discussion? Okay.
All right, do we have other matters from council? And we'll move over to staff.
I think you all covered it tonight.
Oh, my goodness. And so this might be a record for this council, and so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
And do I have a second? Thumbs up to adjourn? All right, we are adjourned.